Honestly, I'm very, very disappointed in how many are just kind of not giving Gecko Moria enough credit in this chapter. Many are just writing him off, saying he's lazy, saying, oh, he hasn't changed at all, but in reality, Gecko Moria does have a lot of balls, and let me explain the reason why, just in case some have not understood. Gecko Moria went out of his way to confront Blackbeard. Now, let's back up for a second, okay? Gecko Moria, out of everyone that we have seen in this series, he is very aware of how powerful a Yonko is. He has personally encountered Kaido itself, and we have recently seen how crazy Kaido is. Gecko Moria has encountered that man, and he has fought that man. Yes, he lost, and his entire crew was slaughtered, but he survived, and he stood up to Kaido. And Gecko Moria, in turn, retreated back into Paradise, the Grand Line, to build an army to maybe one day stand back up against Kaido. He honestly has some balls for that, and I think many kind of throw that to the side and don't really give the man enough credit. Yes, he's lazy, and he's a joke in some ways, and he probably isn't the best character, best villain, so to say, for an arc, but there's a lot about his backstory and what happened to him that's very sad, relatable, and it makes you hope that he can get out of the gutter that he's in, for he can be able to actually do something. And what we see in this chapter is actually Oda doing just that. Gecko Moria confronted Blackbeard. Now, like I just briefly said, he's very aware of how strong a Yonko is, and he was there in the Marineford arc. He saw how crazy Whitebeard was. He saw Blackbeard. He got to see pretty much like everything. He knew what happened. Everybody pretty much knows how brutal that was. And he knows that Blackbeard has Whitebeard's devil fruit. He's very aware of every single little detail. And obviously he's aware that Blackbeard's group is ability hunters. They're hunting after devil fruit users. He's very aware because he mentioned it in this chapter. But Gecko Moria went out of his way to go on to the island to confront this man. That takes a lot of courage, a lot of balls to be able to do that. Number two, the man also had something very sad happen to him in this chapter, and I think many are not going to really comprehend how bad it was for the man. He lost an individual part of his crew that was actually still alive and not technically a zombie. Absalom was not dead. He was a part of the main four, mysterious four underneath Moria with Perona and all of that, and he lost that individual. He was a man that followed Moria, and he did the best he possibly could for Gecko Moria. And as we know, Moria, his main perspective, what he said at the end of his arc, he said that he doesn't need living crew members. He doesn't need crew members. He'd rather have zombies, because if he has zombies, he doesn't have to worry about them dying. He doesn't have to worry about his crew members, disappearing, because they're technically not even alive in the first place, which is what drove him to be like he was in that arc. And he just lost another individual that was technically alive that he cared about. You can even see what he did in this chapter. He went out of his way to go to Blackbeard's island to try to save the man. And so you gotta imagine when he finds out that the person he cares about, you can even see in his face when he realizes that his friend that he probably cared about, his crew member, is dead. And when Catherinas like, oh, I know you're a big fan of corpses and all that, you can have it when you go home, that's messed up. So I feel very bad for Gecko Moria. I feel bad for the man because he literally just had like a reenactment of what happened to him with Kaido, and it's clear as day that he does have courage to want to stand up and save his friends at the very least, or people he cares about. You can see that. I mean, he went out of his way to do that. And so you can't really write him off and say he's completely lazy or not doing things when he did what he did in this chapter. And I do feel like Gecko Moria is probably going to do something very surprising. I mean, Oda-sensei would not have kept him around if he wasn't going to be very relevant. I mean, think about this, okay? He survived the entire situation with Doffy, and now he's here against Blackbeard. It makes you really wonder, Why? Why did Oda do this? Why did Oda decide to keep the man around? Why did Oda want the man to basically stay alive? And one of the big things I've been talking about in my recent chapter reviews is that most likely Gecko Moria might arrive on Wano to fight Kaido to get his vengeance against the man. You know, team up with Luffy just because, you know, he's been probably paying attention to the papers, figuring out what's going on, and he probably wants to just bring down the man that ended his entire pirating career, or just, you know, ruined his life. For instance, taking down his entire crew. So, it is strange to see Gecko Moria at Blackbeard's territory, but at the same time, once again, this goes along with his character, because he was there just thanks to Absalom, you know, being there, and you could see how incredibly happy he was when he thought the man was alive. Like, Absalom was like, oh, my bad and all that, you know, I had it to where, like, I got preoccupied with all these beautiful girls and stuff, and I forgot to contact you. And instead of Gecko Moria being very upset or yelling, and he did get a little bit upset in the previous arc. You remember in his arc and all that, he got very upset. But you could see in that moment, he was very happy. He was extremely happy that Absalom was alive. He's like, yo, you're alive, man! Thank God! Like, you're alive. Get down here and all. Let's go. And he's like, I owe these people an apology. I owe Blackbeard's crew an apology. I shouldn't have done what I've done. And he was about to actually start apologizing, which is pretty freaking crazy. And then all of a sudden, you have it to where Shiryu of the Rain pops up, and the realization that Absalom is dead. So that, crazy moment. I love the way Oda did that. That was a very shocking moment for this chapter, and especially Blackbeard. So Blackbeard's bounty is 2,247,600,000 berries. That's large. Now, granted, Blackbeard is a Yonko, so obviously he's gonna have a ridiculous bounty. Now, you can kind of assume from this reveal that Oda is doing that most likely his bounty is probably the lowest out of the Yonko. For instance, Blackbeard, the reason why he was revealed is because his bounty is the lowest out of, let's say, Big Mom's, out of, you know, Kaido's, out of Shanks. His is definitively the lowest bounty. And the reason why I could see that is because Blackbeard is a very new Yonko. He's a very new pirate that is wanted. Let's think about this. Blackbeard stayed out of the public eye for a very long time. He was a part of Whitebeard's crew. He didn't really stand out. He was with Whitebeard, and obviously that means he must have been strong, but he stayed out of the public eye. He didn't really have much people that really paid attention to him, and he basically had no bounty. And then he rised up out of nowhere, he became what he was, and straight up, you know, he eventually became a warlord. He broke an Impel down, and then he went to the, you know, War of the Best, Marine Ford, and now he's at where he's at. He's a Yonko. So, I mean, he hasn't really had a long time to really build up his bounty. He's like in a very similar situation as Luffy. For instance, Luffy, he's just only been pirating for a while now, not that long, and Blackbeard, even though he's been pirating for a much longer, he really hasn't had an active bounty. He's just recently started to become into the public eye to get what he wants. And we also have to factor in that Luffy's bounty in a lot of ways is inflated. I mean, let's be real here. It's great to see Luffy's bounty over 1 billion. It makes me very happy. But at the same time, though, we do have to remember that big news, he kind of made it a little bit more dramatic than it was, and Luffy's bounty is a little bit higher than I think he really is ready for, which Blackbeard even said a while back. He's like, you're not ready to join, you know, our ranks of a Yonko Mugiwara. So, you can assume that, in a lot of ways, his bounty, even though it is 1 billion, like, you know, Luffy's is, it's really not as crazy as maybe some of the Yonkos, and like I said, Blackbeard's bounty is pretty freaking ridiculous, and he's probably the lowest one out of the entirety of the 4 Great Emperors. So anyways, let's move on. Blackbeard's design. I'm looking at it right now. I love it. I love how stereotypical he looks. Like, he looks like a stereotypical pirate, which is not a bad thing, because Blackbeard is a legitimate pirate in real life, okay? In history, if you go back and look at your history, Blackbeard was a pirate. So, it makes sense why Oda would design Blackbeard to look like a stereotypical pirate. I just love the design. I love the way his, you know, beard looks. And he has actually very nice looking beard like Blackbeard now. He has a really nice looking hat. I just love the thing going on with his attire to his pants, just everything about it. Blackbeard looks pretty freaking awesome. I'm loving his design. I'm just looking at right here. So, yeah, I think Oda did a fantastic job with time skip Blackbeard, and I also love the shades he's wearing. Now, there was something I saw interesting on social media. Someone pointed out that the shades that Blackbeard was wearing on his face and then took off and holding in his hands was apparently Kuzen's. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. I could be wrong there. The person that told me could be wrong, but that was pointed out to me. I was like, that is interesting. I wonder, because we know that Kuzen was doing stuff and all that. He was in, the underground doing stuff and all that. So we could assume that maybe, for all we know, that could be Kuzen's glasses. Who knows? But anyways, next thing to really get into, let's talk about Shiryu of the Rain, his Devil Fruit, and, Caterina. So, some might not understand Caterina's Devil Fruit and exactly what she did against Gecko Moria. If you know anything about, that type of spirit or the folklore and stuff of that, it was like a trickster spirit that fooled a lot of people. So, obviously, Caterina being able to transform into others makes perfect sense. I know it's kind of like a very similar thing to, like, how Bon Clay was, but at the same time, Caterina's is very different by the way it works. She actually has its own Devil Fruit, but at the same time, it has other little extra abilities, very similar to Marco's, Phoenix Devil Fruit he has. So I do like the way Oda is building up Blackbeard's crew very, very slowly. So, enough with that. Let's talk about Mihawk, Perona, and what's going on at the Reverie. So, I'm a little bit sad that apparently Oda-sensei decided to kind of off-screen some events of the Reverie. I really do hope that he goes back and shows us the events of the Reverie because, look, I mean, I understand you can't show everything. That's common sense. But the thing is the Reverie is something that's been built up for years, a long time, and we've been waiting for it. Many fans have been waiting for it, and if a lot of the content within is off-screen, it's going to make me very sad, because I want to see the revolutionaries go up against Fujitora and stuff, the admirals, the world government. I want to see that. I want to see how crazy it is. I want to see, what's really going on with all these characters that have been there with us for this long journey, finally meeting together to discuss the future of the world. All the princesses and stuff. And that being off screen kind of, a little bit upsets me. And I do hope that we get like a flashback to that. We get to see what's going on there, because Mihawk does state in this chapter that there was a very interesting topic brought up, which I'm going to assume has something to do with Fujitora's topic of wanting to abolish the entire warlord system, which makes perfect sense why Mihawk would get a little bit like scared or act like he does, like he might want to leave this place, is because he realizes that he's about to lose his title, which means that the world government is going to try to get him, which in turn would mean that he's going to be on the run. So I feel like that's what he was trying to say, is like, Perona, I can't protect you, you're gonna have to leave and all that, because I'm gonna probably get into a pretty big fight if these events continue. So that's interesting. We might get to see how strong Mihawk is very soon, because we do know that the man is crazy powerful. We don't really even know his level of strength. We know he fought Shanks in the past, and we don't really know exactly. For all we know, he could be a Yonko level, or he could be, I guess an Admiral level. We really don't know the level of Shanks at all. So, last thing to really talk about, let's talk about the revelation at the end with Jack and his two brothers. King and Queen and Jack. I see you, Oda. I see what you're doing there. I see you. So let me just say that, I think the whole Joker thing with Daffy now makes a whole lot of sense. He was literally a part of a card set. Joker goes along with, Jack, Queen, King, and I'm assuming Kaido is the ace. I guess Oda might be trying to do a pun there with Ace itself that died in the Marine Ford. But regardless of that, though, I mean, Jack, Queen, King, Joker, which Daffy was, and then we knew that there was the club seat, the diamond seat, and all of that. It's always been about cards, and it's kind of crazy that now we're getting these revelations to these names, and I am interested to see exactly what the whole meaning of this, if this will be revealed and there's more meaning behind their names of King, Queen, Jack, Joker, all of that. Hopefully more of this type of stuff is revealed in due time. Now, talking about design, King, I believe the one in, that looks like Magellan. King looks very interesting. He looks like a guy straight up from Impel Down. And so does the other guy, you know, Queen. They both look like they could be from Impel Down. It's kind of unnerving in a way, and it does kind of make me remember just how great Oda's designs were in Impel Down, because he had some really wacky and scary designs with some characters, and I feel like Oda's kind of going back to that design that he had in Impel Down with someone like King and Queen, and I'm looking forward to seeing their type of abilities, which, by the way, if you did not notice, Queen is holding a mechanical, like, cogs, gears and stuff, and it looks like an arm, which is very similar to Kid's mechanical arm. So I wonder if that's what he's playing with, and if so, I feel like Kid might have some beef with that man. I feel like instead of the typical Zoro, Sanji, and all that going up against the big bads and stuff, I feel like it might be, let's say, you know, Law, Kid, and Luffy up against Jack, Queen, and King, which I think would be very awesome if that really is the case. But that's, I think, about it. It's a great chapter. I love all the revelations and stuff. I mean, we do have the stuff going on with Ashura and all that, and how he doesn't want to follow the samurais, which makes sense. I do hope, though, that he changes his mind, and I believe Momo will be the one to actually do that. But anyways, I want to end it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.